Today on Rambling About Cars, we have Civic Type R horsepower. We have the second of Dodge's special edition last call Dodge Chargers that we're going to talk about. We have some Ford Mustang news, but you really want to stick around because we're going to do something fun with car movies. And it's something different that I don't think anybody has done before. Well, maybe they've done it before, but we're going to do it better. So without further ado, it's podcast time. I am Christopher Smith. Mr. Chris Bruce is across the way, and after 3 weeks of Pebble Beach and Monterey, I think that's
just
about
you and me today again.
I think that sums it up, right?
Yeah, it's like Pebble Beach is cool. All of that news is cool, but it's kind of nice to have just this this slow time. This all the auto news has happened, and we can enjoy things. And it's not that all the auto news has happened. I know that there's cool stuff happening.
There's cool stuff happening right now.
Tonight.
And
there's a super huge debut that's like 2 weeks away that we'll be talking about tonight. But, it still feels like it's almost like vacation in a certain way that all the hard work's done. You and I can kind of have some fun tonight. So it'll be a good one.
For 1 week, because I mean, we're kind of in that that middle ground. Pebble is over, right? Woodward Dream Cruise, that's over. We're coming up on Labor Day holiday in the United States. So 50% of automaker teams are out enjoying their last little bit of summer vacation. So it's
the other
really
50% are working their asses off.
And then there's us, right? Oh my God.
Yep.
But so this is usually a little bit of a quiet time, which is why we're going to talk about some car movies later. And we should also take this moment to say, hey, you know what? You've been listening to us for a while. So go follow, subscribe, and follow at Motor One Podcast, subscribe there on YouTube, all the socials that we're on. If you're listening to us for the first time, trust me, you want to go subscribe because you're going to love this freaking show.
Right. And it literally takes a second. That's the thing. I know, listen, I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's how I get through my day at work. And I know every podcast says, review, subscribe, etc. And the thing is, as coming from the other end on it, it's easy. It takes a few seconds to give 5 stars or a thumbs up or a, hey, that's a great podcast review or something like that. And the wild thing is that every podcast says this, and it's the truth. It is super important because it pushes you up the charts, and then more people see you, and then more people comment, and it's just its own thing. So yeah.
And the next thing you know, we're doing this live from some racetrack somewhere, and we invite 100. We invite 100 of our listeners to come and check it out, and yeah, that we can dream about that.
We can,
but for right now, what do you want to dream about first? We've got Honda Civic Type R news. I
think that's where we got to start, actually.
You think we got to start there? Okay, let's start there with the 2023 Honda Civic Type R, which actually this news will break in about an hour, a little over an hour as we're recording. As you're listening to this, probably on Friday, the news will already be out. But as we're recording, it's just about to break. We finally know how much horsepower the Honda Civic Type R has, and it is, drum roll, 315 horsepower.
In the United States.
In the United States. Well,
we should put a little asterisk there.
We don't yet know for sure, though. We have there was leaked information that recently came out that said it was 326 in Japan.
Right. Well, but it's not leaked. It was a brochure. It's a scan of a brochure. That's
right, but it's not an official confirmation from Honda yet, is what I'm saying. So it seems like that will be the case. But this news that we have here, that is official from Honda, 315 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. That is a horsepower increase of 9 and a torque increase of 15 pound-feet from the previous generation, which is a little bit more. They did say it was going to be more. It would be more powerful. If I remember correctly,
the most powerful ever. And technically it is.
It is.
You and I commented on this, that +1 would technically be the most powerful. So they beat that by 8 more. So yeah.
And we had speculated for a while. Okay. Everything seems like this isn't going to be some wild, crazy 450 horsepower hybrid kind of thing. Just some small upgrades. And that's really what they have here. And Honda's press release on this, they attribute the power differential to basically a tweaked turbocharger. They did something with the fins. It just puts out a little bit more of a broader range. They have a fairly straight through exhaust that does have an active feature, so you can flip the switch and get more gas and noise out at the same time. You're probably going to want the noise more than anything else. That's probably what you're going to notice. And I mean, it's tuned to have really great performance, but also be a little more streetable. You get that maximum torque output from 2,600 RPM to 4,000. So, I mean, if you think about Hondas of yore, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the torque peak is like 4 or 5 grand, where you really have to rev the engine. I mean, you're getting into peak torque, 310 pound-feet. 2,600 RPM really isn't that high for a high revving 4-cylinder. So
No.
you're definitely going to get a little bit more, just a streetable feel out of it. That's kind of all that Honda had to say today. We've been waiting to hear about, okay, performance metrics. Do they have 0 to 60? Do they have top speed figures? Don't know if we'll ever get to that, but they don't have it for this announcement. How much will this cost? We don't have that for this announcement. How many they're going to build? Yeah, we don't have it for this announcement. So they're feeding us information slowly. But I mean, we do know that it's a little bit lower. It's a little bit wider than the outgoing model. How much does it weigh? Yeah, we don't know that either. They didn't give that either. But
okay. So a couple of things.
Okay, go ahead. I know where you're going.
A little bit down on this, and I understand why. Maybe I'm just in a good mood tonight or something. You were talking about weight. So the brochure that we mentioned that leaked out, and granted, I have never held this brochure in my hand. Mm-hmm. I cannot 100% reliably say this is a real brochure. However, it looked legit. Certainly.
Right.
And I wrote up the story, and it said that the new Civic Type R weighs 1,430 kilograms. That translates to 3,153 pounds. Again, so the issue comes up is that different regions weigh vehicles differently. Sometimes they have all the fluids in them. Sometimes they have a full tank of fuel in them. Mm-hmm. So we can't exactly say, but I would call that a good ballpark.
Right.
I wouldn't say, oh, the Japanese version weighs 3,153 pounds and the American version weighs 5,000 pounds. Like that's
it's not going to be anything like that. And I say as much in my article here. The difference being, it still technically hasn't been confirmed by Honda, even though, I mean, the brochure looks legit. There still could be some differences between markets, because I think that brochure was a Japanese spec market.
If I didn't mention that, it was a Japanese brochure. I had to use my phone and pull up my translator. No, the Google translator.
You don't speak Japanese? Come on, Bruce.
I do not, but
I don't
Google
either.
Translator, you just hold it up and it translates all the everything, and then you just save it and it's all there. Anyway, so Japanese version of the new Civic Type R, 3,153 pounds. US spec, previous gen Civic Type R, 3,121 pounds. That's for the regular version. So that's a gain of 32 pounds, which is not that much. Honestly.
It's really
especially
not.
In a vehicle that's gaining a little bit of horsepower, a little bit of torque.
Yep.
And the other thing is that there's the limited edition of the previous gen. That one weighed 3,071 pounds. So that works out to a difference of 82 pounds. That's a bit more, but who's to say? And total speculation, I know, but it, maybe at some point, maybe possibly, maybe down the line, there's a lighter version of the Civic Type R that comes out of the new one. But still, 32 to 82 pounds. We're still talking still in that 100-pound weight gain in generations. And the other thing that you didn't mention, and I think is really worth mentioning, is that the new Civic Type R rides on 19-inch wheels versus 20s for the previous one. But the tires on those wheels are 20 millimeters wider.
Yep, so they are the wider tires, and they're
smaller, thicker tires than on the previous one. So,
and they're the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, which I think
yes,
the previous version had the Continentals, if I'm not
they had
mistaken.
Continental somethings. I don't know what
And
specific tire they were.
And I mean, when you put that together, because I do mention this in my article, when you put that together with the extra power, they do tweak the suspension a little bit. Honda didn't offer very specific details on what all they're doing. It's just it's updated from the previous generation. So when you take that into consideration, plus the power gain, which honestly is very minor.
Mhm.
I don't know if your butt dyno would even feel that. But that with the tires, we know this is almost a second faster around Suzuka. This Type R currently holds the front wheel drive production record at Suzuka in Japan. So when you put all those factors together, getting, I think it's, what is it, like 0.8 or 0.9 seconds faster on the lap. I mean, it all adds up in my mind, right? So you have a little bit more power, you have a little bit more grip. Even if there's a little bit more weight, it seems to be offset. It all lines up.
Yeah. And again, this is an interesting, it's nice to me that this vehicle exists, that from everything that we are seeing, this is going to be the final purely combustion engine Civic Type R, that this is the end of the road. Now, granted, I say that this vehicle still has not debuted yet, and maybe Honda can tweak some things going down the line. Maybe they can eke out a few more horsepower. Maybe they can cut off a few pounds. Maybe,
well,
maybe they
it's
can do
debuted.
XYZ to the suspension.
It's debuted. It just hasn't gone into production. It's just not on sale yet.
Correct.
That's going to happen later this fall.
Yes.
Just to make sure, in case you're listening for the first time, yeah, it's debuted. And pricing information, Honda says, will be available closer to that production launch. I would still like to see if they have 0 to 60, quarter mile, and top speed figures.
I can ignore quarter mile. 0 to 60 and top speed, I think, are kind of the numbers I would like to see. But hey, if they want to give us a quarter mile time, I'm not going to complain.
What I like about quarter mile times, with a front wheel drive car especially, it's much harder to get a really good consistent launch.
Sure.
So you could have a difference of a half a second or even a full second, just depending on your driver and just how skilled you are. And it doesn't really detail the performance that the car is capable of. But if you can see a quarter mile time, especially with a trap speed, even if you botch the launch, your trap speeds are going to be pretty similar, provided you're rolling the gears correctly. So for me, that's a really good gauge of I guess you'd say streetable performance. Not that you're going to be doing 100 plus miles an hour, so everywhere you go. But if you can see, okay, this is a car that's trapping 105 or 110 in the quarter mile. Okay, it's got some pretty decent performance. And then top speed. I mean, a lot of cars are electronically limited, so that could be the case here. But hopefully, Honda will release some more information as we get closer to the debut. And I kind of wish they'd just go ahead and release it all, because
that's always the thing with like automakers kind of like doling out information slowly. It's kind of a bummer because we saw this vehicle, I think it was April, maybe it was May, but we didn't get these specs until now. And then we still don't know acceleration numbers. We still don't know price. Like, I understand from a PR perspective, and you used to be in PR, I understand why companies do that, because it maintains interest until a vehicle's launch. That like, oh, you get this detail and then this detail and But the other hand,
never, in my PR days, I never strung things out like this. We always found other ways to keep people interested, because I mean, people, they want to know that they see this exciting machine or this exciting vehicle. They want to know all about it.
Right.
They get impatient and then they get frustrated. And it's like, okay, I'm really interested in this, but how much is it going to cost, Honda? How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost? Oh, you know what? Never mind. I know all the information on the new Nissan Z. I'll just go ahead and get that.
Sure.
Bam.
Yeah.
Little PR 101 for you, Honda.
That's a fair argument. I think both are fair. It's just, it depends on the person. It depends on the company. And
Mhm.
it is, though, kind of just a bummer that cause you think about like back in the day where you would just get everything kind of thrown at you. Like I definitely remember that. And
So we're going to talk about Mustang a little bit later. Ford sold a Mustang before they debuted it,
they
right?
did famously. Yeah.
Famously, yeah. The
Yeah.
school teacher in
That
Chicago,
school team.
that
Exactly. She's like,
dealership,
oh,
they had the car on the lot already. She bought it before it debuted. So, oh, how times have changed.
exactly. You know what? You just brought up Mustang. Why don't we talk about Mustang next? You cool with
You
that?
you want to jump into Mustang? Well, I mean,
I'm
we don't have a pile of really hot news to share, but
We
I
got
can
some things to talk about,
we
though.
got some things to talk about. I mean, Ford just dropped a teaser. Their teaser campaign is kind of in full swing here now.
Oh yeah.
The teaser, I mean, it's just a soundbite of a V8, which, okay, we knew that the car was going to have a V8 early on. We caught some prototypes on video from our spy team, and you could clearly hear a V8 in there. But then Ford, I'm trying to remember the specific executive that actually confirmed the V8 would return. So okay,
Oh yeah. I
we
can't
know
think of his
it's
name.
coming
I
back.
should have.
We
Yeah.
know it's coming back, but I mean, this teaser gives us a chance to hear it. Of course, you can go to motor1.com and get all the information. But something else a little more interesting to me that came out, I guess it was about a week and a half ago. It was right around Woodward Dream Cruise. We
Mhm.
didn't have a chance to talk about it last week. Ford is doing something called Stampede to the new Mustang.
Yep.
And basically they are inviting owners to join them for the big debut. And of course, the new Mustang will debut September 14th. That's just ahead of, I think, the public opening for the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. There's going to be a big celebration downtown. And in short, this program says, hey, you can go to a website, and I'm trying to look up the website here right now. Do you have it in front of you, Bruce, by chance?
I do not. I can look for it though. I was going to pull up the renderings here, but
because
hold on 1 second.
I didn't think to reference the website specifically. We'll get it for you here in a bit, and we'll also put it up in our article that goes up every Friday on motor1.com for the podcast. Or hey, you can go to motor1.com and just type in Mustang for the search bar, and you can get our Mustang Everything We Know page, where I know I have all the information on there because I wrote it. The crux is, okay, Ford, they're going to hold this drive on September 14th. You have to go to this website and sign up to participate. And at this point, I mean, there's limited space, right? Because if 3,000 people show up to Ford headquarters in Mustangs, I mean, God help all of the spectators that are going to be watching along the side of the road with that many. But, and I can say stuff like that because I own a Mustang. But the crux is, the evening of the debut, they're going to invite people to Ford World headquarters. You show up there at 5 p.m. and then at 5:30 you leave Ford headquarters. You do a little drive to downtown Detroit. You park, you have your party. The people are then there for the big debut of the Mustang going on later that evening. And then there's a big after party. And that is something that you do have to register for because there's limited space on that. And I think it's kind of neat that they're just inviting people in general. Hey, come hang out at Ford World headquarters. We're going to drive down. We'll all go in together. The debut is 8 p.m. on September 14th. It's kind of a neat touch for fans. But it does require you to be in Detroit, and it is just limited availability. But wait, you say, what if I am a Mustang owner and enthusiast and I live in Idaho? What's going on? What could possibly be going on in Idaho? Well, Ford is doing another thing where it's basically a cross-country trip.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can vamp for me for a minute, Bruce, I thought I had that information pulled up here in front of me.
I actually do have that information pulled up.
You have the information? So, do you want to talk about that? Because it's like I think it's like a 14-day, if memory serves, it's like a 14-day cross-country trip that people, a certain group of cars will be going from one point to the other, and it starts in Oregon and it ends
No, it
at
starts
Ford.
in Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, okay. It starts in Washington and it ends at Ford World headquarters. But anybody along that route, if you want to go hang out for a little while, you can join them along the route. What do you have there for information?
You know what? I literally just hold on. Okay, so it starts in Tacoma, Washington. It runs to Detroit, Michigan. The start date, though, I swear I just had it in front of me. I swear I was just looking at it. And you know what?
We're
I
terrible.
lost it.
We're terrible at our jobs. But don't worry,
We
I got you
are.
because I've got it right here. It's September 6th.
Okay.
It's a cross-country drive. They're calling it the drive home to the Stampede. And yes, you are right. It starts in Tacoma, Washington. I don't know why I was thinking Oregon. Starts in Tacoma, Washington, and it includes stops in 9 states. It all ends up at Ford World headquarters in Dearborn on September 14th at that 5 p.m. start time, at which point the Stampede begins. And if you go to our website, motor1.com, search up Mustang, you'll be able to find information on all of this. I don't have all of the various stops here in front of me, but it is snaking through several states. And I checked, and it is not snaking through my state of South Dakota. They're going to cut down through Wyoming, I think, over into Nebraska, and then basically follow Interstate 80, sort of, across the heartland of America. So there are various stops, and people can just stop in at any of the stops. They can join the cruise on this drive home. And the website, if you want to try to register for this big party that they're throwing on September 14th, the website, MustangStampedeDetroit.com, all one words, MustangStampedeDetroit.com. The registration is first come, first serve. And I think it's kind of a neat touch that Ford's they're not just putting some willy-nilly debut together. For better or for worse, I know there are a lot of people disgruntled over the whole Mach-E thing. Truth be told, I was one of them at the beginning, but I've since changed. I've reversed course after driving it. And after understanding, hey, you know what? It's still a fun, exciting vehicle, and it's not just going to be the Mustang's future. There's still
the thing, Smith, is how many millions of Mustangs are there on the road? If you're a Mustang fan, you can buy, and even into the new generation that we know that this is kind of something we're going to be talking about later, is that so from what we understand, at the very, very launch, the engines are going to carry over. You're going to have a 5-liter V8. You're going to have the 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder. We don't know. Maybe the output, maybe the horsepower might be a bit more. Things like that might change, but those engines are still going to be there. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about from 64.5 to 2022, 2023, whenever they put those on sale. That's a lot of Mustangs out there. And if you love Mustangs, you are going to be able to keep one of those cars on the road. So I just don't. I don't love that argument that like, oh, it's over. Oh, it's dead. Like
no,
there are millions
it's
of them out there.
It's not. And I fight the argument every day of the people that say the only real Mustang is a big loud V8. And it's like, no, different engines have always been part of Mustang's DNA since the beginning. And the majority that are sold don't have big V8s. And it doesn't mean you can't go out and enjoy them for what they are. So I salute Ford for really making a strong effort to get enthusiasts involved. Being a Mustang owner, I'm pretty excited to see what the new car is going to look like. If you go to our motor1.com, our 2024 Mustang Everything We Know, we did have a special exclusive rendering created of what we think the car is going to look like. And that's based on spy photos and some leaked photos that allegedly cropped up a few months ago. So whether or not it's going to look exactly like what we have on our Everything We Know, we'll just have to wait and see. But from the spy photos, we know it's going to be it's an evolutionary approach, right?
Totally. From the spy photos, it's long hood, short deck, very classic kind of coupe proportions. That's what it's going to be. Like, the front end we think is going to kind of look a little bit more, I don't want to say futuristic because now futuristic sounds so cliche. I guess more like angular, more
a little more angular. We think the grill is going to be a little bit bigger. There might be some more styling cues from the GT 500 with kind of the larger grill opening there. But
totally.
you know, September 14th, man, it is just around the corner.
It is.
It's hard to believe it's going to be here already. And is it just me, or like with some of the teasers, like Ford dropping this teaser where it's just the soundtrack of a V8, right? Of course, Dodge has been in the news a lot lately with their Charger and Challenger, and 2023 being the end of the line for the current production models. And then, of course, you know, we have on record from, Dodge personnel that's next generation battery electric. Do you think Ford's doing a little bit of a dig here? Maybe, hey, our 2024 Mustang's still going to have a V8. Do you think they could be doing a little bit of a dig?
I think there's always a little bit of that with PR people. I think that, and granted, I have not worked in PR, but you have. And like I said earlier, and it's just that I think there's always that competition that we want to be better. We want to be the best. We want to have the best product, the best sales, you know, the best whatever. So I think there's a little bit of that, but I think there's also just a legitimate, you know, there's a legitimate claim everywhere. Like, Ford's going to come out with the very best it can come out. Dodge is going to come out with the very best it can come out with. And then those two vehicles are going to come out on the market, and the public is going to decide. Like, PR can only do so much.
Right.
And so, yeah, and that's kind of where I land on things.
And for the record, I am just fine with an electric Dodge future. After hearing their Charger Daytona SRT concept, with its, I guess, artificial, but still somehow based in reality tunes, engine noise. You know what? It seems really gimmicky, but I'm warming up to it more and more. And it's not going to matter if the thing is freaking 1,000 horsepower with all-wheel drive. It'll be stupid fast, just like it will be stupid fast. Just like it should be. And to segue into not stupid fast, we are still talking about Dodge, and on Wednesday, Dodge debuted the next of their last call series for the Charger or the Challenger. There's going to be 7 special edition models that they're calling the last call to honor the end of this internal combustion run with the Charger and Challenger. We already saw the first one, that was the Challenger. Oh, it's slipping my mind. The Charger. It's in the article. It was the Challenger.
The Shakedown.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I kept wanting to say jailbreak, and it's like, no, come on. We know
there's going to be a jailbreak.
The Challenger jailbreak. So now the second one is going to the Charger, and it's the return of the Charger Super B.
Yep.
And if you recall, Super B, the last time we saw it was 2014. It originated
really that long. I swear there was one more recent than that, but yeah,
I couldn't find one.
No, I'm not questioning. Time goes fast. It just feels like
it does. It goes really fast.
But, okay.
2014. Yeah. The Super B originated in the late 60s. It first arrived on the Challenger or the Charger in 1971. And it was originally conceived as not necessarily like a bare bones vehicle, but just kind of a hopped up sporty thing that's a little bit less on the frills, a little bit more.
Am I wrong that it was
just like the power?
Am I wrong that it was like the baby step up from a Roadrunner, a Plymouth Roadrunner?
If memory serves me correct. And I know in 2014 it was also billed as kind of a, this is an SRT vehicle. Not a Hellcat. This was before the Hellcat, but it was billed as kind of an SRT vehicle without as much pomp and circumstance that you could jump into and just enjoy it for the performance vehicle it is. So 2023 Dodge Charger Super B, they are all based on the Scat Pack. So that's going to be the 6.4 liter Hemi V8 naturally aspirated, 485 horsepower under the hood. It's largely an appearance package, which I think most of these are going to be pretty much appearance packages. But for the Super B, Dodge does give you, as standard equipment, street legal drag radials on the back. because they want you to.
That'll last like what, 1,000, 2,000 miles.
They want you. I mean, hey, they're street legal. I did just to make sure I understood. I clarified with Dodge PR. They did say, yep, the tires on the back. It's not an option, and from what I gather, you can't choose regular tires for an option either. The Super B just legit comes with a set of street legal drag radials on the back. And if you opt for the Scat Pack wide body version, those are 18-inch wheels. And if you go for the regular Scat Pack, it's 20-inch wheels. And aside from that, you get Super B badges in the grill, on the fenders. You get Super B striping on the side. There's a big decal on the hood. They're only going to build 1,000 of them. And I think that's going to be the case with all of these last call models, because that was the case with the Challenger we just talked about. 1,000 total. 500 will be the regular Scat Pack. 500 will be the wide body. And you better like blue or plum crazy, because those are the only two colors. And
plum crazy is a great color, though. It
is. Plum crazy purple is a great color, but you can't choose anything different. So I think it's the wide body. The Super B wide body is plum crazy. That's it. That's the only color you're getting. The regular Scat Pack is blue. We don't have pricing yet. That'll be announced closer to when orders open up on these later in the year. But we also know at this point, Dodge will be announcing their latest last call special edition Challenger or Charger every Wednesday going forward. Now there's going to be 7 all total. 6 of them will be announced on the Wednesdays going forward. We're on number 2 now, so we've got 4 more to go. And then the last one, number 7, they're saving that for SEMA, the 2022 SEMA show.
And am I wrong? There's some speculation the last one might be a bit more special than the rest. Is that's
the impression? No, that's the impression that I'm getting. Not out.
We don't know. We don't know. It
know.
Seems like the last one might be different than the rest.
And during Dodge's recent Speed Week, their CEO did allude to something very special being at SEMA.
Okay.
So I mean, it's certainly not pure speculation. All evidence seems to be pointing to something more than just a Charger or a Challenger with some stickers on the side.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll
that's
we'll
what
have
I was
to wait
trying
and see
to
on
be
that.
That was what I was trying to tactfully say, because sometimes on our show we know stuff that the public doesn't know and we can't say, but in this case it's kind of not quite that. But
if you know something, I don't know.
I
haven't received, and I was even asking today. I was like, "Come on, you guys got any embargoed information that we can get at a time?" Oh, sorry. So
yeah,
that's all right. That's all right. These are going to debut every Wednesday. We're going to keep an eye on them, so you can always go to motor1.com every Wednesday to see what the latest last call Dodge Charger or Challenger is. In fact, what the hell, man? You should go to motor1.com anyways, just for all of your daily automotive news. You should
you should be. Yeah,
you definitely should be. You should be going to YouTube, where you can catch our Motor One YouTube channel and our Motor One Podcast YouTube channel, Motor One Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Google or one of the audio platforms right now, you can go to YouTube and you can see what we're talking about. You can see my bare bones room behind me as I pack up and get ready to move to Michigan. You can see the sunset over at Bruce's house because he is 2 hours ahead of me. No, behind me. You're 2 hours behind me.
No,
2 hours.
It's ahead of you.
It's 2 hour difference
here. It's 6 o'clock.
Don't ask me to math when we're on the microphone. Point being, you can go to Motor One Podcast and you can watch what's happening here. We didn't get to any of our comments last week, and by the way, another thing you should be doing is commenting on our YouTube posts that go up. Comment over at motor1.com for our articles.
We look at them all.
That go up every Friday.
Maybe we don't. Sometimes stuff gets busy and we don't necessarily respond immediately, but we
are looking at them. And you can always email us, podcast@motor1.com, especially if you have cool car pictures that you want to send in to us. Hey guys, I'm working on insert car here, and then attach that picture, send it to us because we want to see it. We want to talk about it. Your car spotting. Holy crap. I just saw a Chevrolet Citation X11 somebody parked downtown. Send that to podcast@motor1.com.
None of those exist anymore.
I
don't
want to
believe
see that.
you.
I saw
If you
one.
see a Citation X11, I want the photos because I don't believe they exist anymore.
Okay, that's happening once the recording is over, because I saw one like 3 years ago at the Black Hills
3
Corvette
years ago.
rally. Three, hey, what? It's 2019, man. They're out there. Anyways, if you see them, send them in to us. We want to talk about them. We love to share stuff that you send in to us. And we're going to do a little bit of that right now because we have some comments and some emails to catch up on, don't we?
We do. So I am going to read the very, very long, and Eric, I am going to edit this down because you wrote a very long email to us,
which is awesome.
I can't read it all. It is awesome.
It is awesome. Send the biggest emails you want.
Exactly. I cannot read it all. So judging by your email address, I'm going to say it's Eric Heinv, although it's spelled Heinv, Heinv. So if if it's either Heinv or Heinv. So here we go. So just finished watching your episode with all of the debuts, and there were a lot. I'll get right to it. Unlike in the US, the Civic is largely a non-entity here among the compact cars in Europe. In fact, less than 200 were sold in both May and June in the whole of Europe. I don't understand how that's possible. Like, the Civic is like the standard car here. But anyway.
Well, and before you continue, though, I just want to let me just give everybody some context here. This is in response to an episode from it was a few weeks ago, I think, where we were talking about the Type R, Toyota Crown, the Lucid Air, those Hyundai concepts that came out. Mm-hmm. Totally. The very, very cool concept. So yeah, thanks, Eric, for going back through listening to some of the older podcasts. Hey, we invite everybody to do that. Go back. The stuff a year and a half ago is kind of funny, actually. Maybe how we were still trying to get our feet beneath us. Anyways, please continue.
Anyway, by comparison, the Golf sold 17,500 units in June alone. The Civic is down in 30th place in the compact segment, only ahead of the Hyundai Elantra, sold in only a few countries, the Prius, the Subaru Impreza /WRX. The downfall started with the UFO-esque Civic pick attached. I know what he's talking about.
I know exactly which one he's talking about. Yep.
Which sold well for a couple of years, but tailed off quickly, and the last two generations never really got off the mark and have really trailed off in the last couple of years. But back to the news. The Civic Type R, despite the downfall of the regular model, the fast one has done better here. The EP3 generation values are rising, and the latest turbocharged ones are holding theirs as well. With the more conservative styling and improved performance, plus the added allure of being the last of its kind, I expect the new one to be a success. I think the craziness of the current one put a lot of people off, and at least some should be coming back for the new one. As for my own opinion, I like it a lot, but actually prefer the old one. The craziness made its own stand apart, and the performance actually matched it up. Getting into the details, I much preferred the body color, rear wing, the aggressive front end styling, the if not fake vents, and yes, we do have a wingless sport edition here in Europe that took away a bit of the charm for me. I really hope to own one of the turbo ones or the EP3 one day.
Okay. Now, see, I was in the camp where the styling was a bit too crazy for me, but it never would have been a deal breaker. A complete deal breaker for me, but I can certainly understand the wild styling, just like really being something that adds a certain amount of charm and character, even if it's not something that you're really into. In fact, I can kind of get into it when I think about it that way.
Yep.
I don't really like how it looks, but it's got character, and I can appreciate that.
So, Eric, it's not that your statements are bad. They're really interesting. You just have so much here. You have written the War and Peace of car text to us, and I super appreciate it. And it's all very cogent. Like so he talks about the Lucid. I feel the same way about it as I do for the Model S, as I did for the Model S 10 years ago when it was getting launched. It seemed like a revolution, something to make electric cars an actual option, not just an eco-friendly sacrifice in comfort, performance, and convenience. And now it seems that the Air is taking EVs into a new level of quality and design, two things Tesla really never nailed for me. The problem is that unlike 10 years ago, Z Germans, I always love the Z Germans, are now on the scene as well. And over here in Europe, people will be hard pressed to go for an unknown American option after already taking the bold decision to go electric. I really like the vehicle, and I hope it does well as it is at the level of the Model S, and I dig the design. However, with the likes of the Taycan, e-tron GT, EQE, EQS, and i7 on the scene, I don't see it doing well here in Europe as Tesla might. Like, Eric, you've got a fantastic thing here, and I super appreciate your long email. I can't read it all, though, buddy.
Yeah, that's an astute point, too.
And it's totally a fair point. That it's an interesting point that the newcomers are going up against these established brands with established dealer markets, after sales, service, all of that. And in some cases, maybe they have a better product, but they still have such a high road or high mountain to climb.
And buyers, I mean, when you talk about some of the high-end Lucids,
that too.
I mean, you're basically taking $130,000 leap of faith. I mean, if you're in a position to put down 130 or 140 grand for a vehicle, are you interested in a leap of faith? It has to be really damn compelling, I think, to do so. And perhaps the Lucid is. I mean, I'm a fan for sure. But that's just something that the company will have to face going forward. And yeah, Eric hit it right on the head. Can I read the last bit of his email here? Do we have some time?
You can. Go for it, man.
Let me do this because he's talking about the Hyundais, the two concepts, and I absolutely adore these things. I think the entire internet is into the Vision 74 concept. I mean, I have
not seen I
haven't seen one bad thing, and it's like,
exactly, yeah.
Dude, this is the internet. People will bitch about kittens. And I haven't seen one bad thing about the Vision 74. So here's what Eric had to say about Hyundais. The RM22E is cool and all, but there's no way the Ioniq 6N will look like that. Just to refresh your memory, the RM22E, it's a quote unquote concept, but it seems very similar to the Ioniq 6N. They did make the same thing with the i30N, releasing a bonkers concept with amazing performance and toning it down significantly for production. To their defense, nearly all car makers do that. Yeah, you're not wrong. Given how well received all of the N models have been, I hope Hyundai carries the same form into the electric ones. And to end on a high note, yes, the Vision 74. I didn't live through the 80s or the 90s for that matter, so I don't get nostalgic over cars like that, but I can still recognize a great design. The pixelated lights, the wing, and the overall shape just look so good. I don't dig the wheels, though, and generally dislike all mostly covered wheel designs. I do, too, to be honest. That car needs just a sweet set of 5 spokes, and it'll be good to go. It's unlikely to ever make it beyond the concept stage. But if Hyundai does make anything even broadly of that design, they have my attention and respect. Thanks for reading my ramble, Eric. Eric, thank you for sending in your ramble. And if you think you can outdo Eric, podcast@motor1.com is our email. We do read them. And yeah, man, that Vision 74. Now, I did grow up in the 80s and the 90s. But I mean, I didn't know anything about Hyundai until like the late 90s.
Late 90s. You're being super generous to me. I would say until the 2010, like old Hyundais. Obviously, I saw Hyundais around, but like the stuff from the Korean market, like it's based on like the pony concept. I didn't know about that stuff until well into my auto journalist career.
I didn't know about the pony concept until Vision 74.
Okay,
I'll be clear on that. I didn't know about the older
that, but not much.
But like Hyundai, like the late 90s is when I really started to understand. Okay, Hyundai is a thing, and they have some cars,
Mhm.
and they've been doing it for a little while. So I mean, that's kind of when I got my first days.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's such a great retro style.
It is.
I really do hope that it materializes in some form or another somewhere. I've never seen something get such universal praise on the internet, right? So
Mhm.
Hyundai, if you're listening, and I know that Hyundai listens to rambling about cars, of course they do. Build the damn car already.
I
Now
would love to see a production car with this. I mean, there's no doubt that this is a very 80s, maybe late 70s look, but
Oh,
then
it's
put a
total
modern
wedge.
powertrain in it and put a modern interior in it with, your Apple CarPlays, Android Auto, whatever it is. Like, I don't know how that loses in a certain way. Like, it's just so different from everything else out there that I
Mhm.
wonder that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. We got some time for some YouTube comments, Bruce?
Of course we do. I don't have them pulled up, so I'm going to have to rely on you, but go for it.
That's fine. Well, let me jump back here to August 19th because I don't think we caught the comments here. This was on our episode for the Dodge Daytona SRT concept. We were also talking about the Dodge Hornet. That was when the Porsche 911 GT3 RS debuted. Just some quick comments here. Ted Adam Green, great ramble again, guys. The Dodge Charger Daytona SRT Banshee. Banshee is what Dodge is going to call their highest output EV vehicle going forward. Sort of like you have the Hellcat V8 now for their range topping performance models. Banshee will be what they call their range topping performance EVs. And he just says the Dodge Charger SRT Banshee is one wild ride for sure. Thanks so much for doing these podcasts every week. Keep them coming. We're going to do our best to keep them coming. We certainly like to do the podcast every week. Thanks, Ted, for the comments. I do want to touch a little bit just on the Daytona SRT concept,
Okay.
because as time has gone by, I feel like I've seen more journalists warming up to it. But man, like the hardcore Dodge people,
Huh.
it's just like, I mean, minds are like parachutes; they function when open, right?
Right.
And I
That's a
and
good saying. I like
I
that.
don't mean any harsh words on anybody, but it's just like, just open your mind a little bit here, people, because electricity, that is the future, whether you want it or not. And give Dodge credit for giving it one hell of a go to make it exciting, and at least give them a chance to try to make it exciting. I've said this before. I think Dodge has painted themselves into a little bit of a corner with just how hard they've pushed Hellcat everything in recent years. So they're going to have to overcome that a little bit. But I mean, it's almost a little disheartening seeing so many people just ready to absolutely thrash on what looks like will be an insanely fast, very cool looking vehicle that even has some interesting sounds, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, when Ted says the SRT Banshee is one wild ride for sure. I mean, let's just think about it that way, folks. That's going to be a wild ride. If it doesn't have a V8 thumping up front, who cares? It's still going to be a wild ride. It still has some interesting sound to it. And I guarantee there were people back in like 1905, right? 1906. You
Okay,
know where
make
I'm
your
going with this,
argument.
Bruce. You know there were people in 1905, 1906 just running their mouth about all this hatred for this stupid mechanical car thing. How this is unreliable, it'll break down, it doesn't have any sort of soul whatsoever. How could this ever replace my horse? I will never give up my horse. I kind of equate that to what's going on right now. It's
Yeah,
like, it's like, open up your mind here a little bit. You don't have to get rid of your horse. You don't have to get rid of your Hellcat. But
that's
man,
the thing.
think about how great, how cool this could be. And do you like stopping at the gas station every 2 days and plunking $80 into the tank? right? Anyways, Ted, that I just want to say that was a very short comment, but we still love the short comments as well as the long emails because it always makes us think. So Ted, thanks for making that comment and making us think a little bit harder about this.
Yeah. Do we want to move into our final segment of the night, or do you have any more comments you want to read?
No, let's jump into the segment here because I think this is going to be a lot of fun. We were just talking about this earlier today. Bruce, why don't you set us up? What the hell are we doing with movies?
We absolutely, yeah. So credit where credit is due. I listen to a podcast. There are two guys. They do 2 podcasts every week. There's either Small Town Murder or Crime and Sports. I subscribe to their Patreon because I really like them. And they, several months ago, this is probably 3 months ago now, they did a thing as part of their Crime and Sports podcast where they picked their favorite sports movies. But the interesting thing I thought they did is that they set certain ones aside. Like neither of those people could pick these certain movies. And so I heard that and I really liked the idea, and we kind of kept it in our back pocket for several months. And, you know, it's a bit of a slower news week. So to kind of fill out the episode, we wanted to talk about that. And so you and I talked about it in our chat today, and the movies that we decided that these are good movies. There's nothing wrong with these movies, but we decided that we're not going to pick these necessarily
off limits
because they're obvious choices. Exactly.
Obvious choices, off limits.
Yes. So no Fast and the Furious movies.
None.
Sure.
Not a single one.
No Smokey and the Bandit movies.
Not even Smokey and the Bandit 3?
Wait, that's the TV movie. That's the bad one, right?
Crickets. That was the point, Bruce. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for ruining my joke.
No Cannonball Run movies.
Not even Cannonball Run. Okay, I already did that joke.
So we're not saying those are bad movies. Literally,
Smokey the Bandit 3 is
those are
pretty
the
bad.
obvious choices, and so we're not going to pick those.
So we're not going to pick those.
And the other thing is we want to pick movies where cars are kind of the stars of them. So Smith and I kind of talked about this. Neither one of us are going to pick Bullet. Bullet is a fantastic movie. Let me be honest with you. I don't like Bullet. I've watched it. I think it's a boring movie. The car chase is the best part of it.
The car chase is cool, but the movie is dull.
I don't like that movie that much.
The movie is dull, and if it were to come out today, it would get panned by critics.
Yeah,
just because it's very slow. And maybe, I don't know, Bruce, do you think there's time really quick to maybe just toss out some other mentions of movies that we don't think are car movies?
I'm
maybe people do.
Yeah.
Or you know, let's do it. Let's do it after we do our 3. Just in case one of us like picks one of these.
Disagrees? Because I have one.
What?
Well, okay. Yeah.
Let's get
to our 3. I suggested this, so I should go first.
Go ahead.
Just so because the first one I'm gonna pick might not be a car movie. I think it's a car movie. I'm going to argue it's a car movie. And so I actually have the DVD right here with me. The Blues Brothers. So,
okay.
Famously, this, I think still today, has the largest car crash on film ever released. And if you've never seen it, at the very end of the film, there are a metric ton of
Chicago and Illinois police cars.
Yeah, police cars just crashing off the side of the road. And every time you think, wait,
they broke my watch.
There are more.
Yep.
And then obviously there's the famous line, they buy a former Illinois or Chicago police car. I can't remember which. He's like, it's got cop shocks, cop brakes. It's before you needed leaded gasoline. Like there's the scene where they race through a mall, and this was several years ago. And Smith, I don't know if you remember this, but our coworker Brandon Turkis was watching Blues Brothers on a flight. He's like, I'm watching the Blues Brothers chase scene. And I type into chat, ooh, baby clothes. This place has everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you sitting behind me? That literally just happened.
Yep. It's a classic movie. I love it.
I think I could argue that this is a car movie, and this is the most argumentative one that I would have to make. So my first pick for the canon of car movies is the Blues Brothers.
1974 Dodge Monaco sedan.
Would you? Am I wrong? Like,
the
obviously, it's a
Bluesmobile.
comedy. Obviously, it's kind of a musical, but Illinois Nazis, I hate them. Like, there's just so many good lines in that movie.
It's a great movie, but I mean, you're absolutely wrong because it is not a car movie.
I don't know.
It's not a car movie. The car isn't the star. It's about the people. It's about the mission from God. Hey, the car is cool. It's iconic. No, they have a big car chase, but in my opinion, not a car movie.
Okay,
a great movie, but not a car movie.
I'm not. I can't fight you. You're right.
Yes, you can. That's what makes this exciting.
No, but you're right. It's not
Smith, you
really
ignorant
a car
slut.
movie, but there are so many good car scenes in it. Like I was saying, the chase through the mall, where he's like Smods, and it's like, I don't know, it's like Southern Michigan. I can't even remember what it is.
State, county, municipal offender data system. I may have seen the movies a few times. I actually have a big a theater size poster in the hallway. I adore that movie. I want to be clear. I adore that movie.
What is it? Something. We've got half a pack of cigarettes.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We've got a full tank of gas, a half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Yeah. There are just
so many things I can quote from that movie, but my take, I'll be polite. My take is not a car movie. I considered it, but it's not a car movie in my mind.
So I respect that. What's your pick number one?
I'm going to go right to something that I was mentioning, I think last week or maybe even the week before, relating to the Dodge Charger Daytona SRT concept. The Wraith, man. This is always one of my go-to cool car movies. 1986. It's got a young Charlie Sheen, Sherilyn Fenn, Nick Cassavetes. Randy Quaid was in the movie. You know it's going to be.
I would say it was Chris Penn, but you're right. It is Randy.
You know it's going to be crazy when Randy Quaid's in the movie, and of course, the movie was about this evil street racing group that killed this guy's brother in the beginning. He came back as Charlie Sheen with this weird supernatural car, which was actually the Dodge M4S concept that was built in 1981. And he was basically the embodiment.
81, really?
It was built in 81. And it was, it was a fully functioning prototype. They were working with Dodge's 2.2 liter 4-cylinder turbo back then. They got the thing to,
by the way.
Mitsubishi
did most of that work.
Shh. Don't say things like that. Yes, Mitsubishi did a lot of that work. That car reached 194 miles an hour.
Yep.
That wasn't just a prop. That was a cool car. And then of course the movie then is about Charlie Sheen has the Wraith, the embodiment of, in this vehicle form, going after all the members of this evil street racing group. And it's just nothing but cool cars after cool cars. Now we have a picture here on YouTube. If you want to jump over to YouTube, that's the Dodge M4S concept. I think it did pace Indy one year. I can't remember exactly which year, but it was a very cool looking car. And I mean, make no mistake, the Wraith is a B movie.
Oh, totally.
It is. I mean, it's like one of the best 80s B movies I think there is. The acting isn't terrible, but it's not great.
I mean, it's Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was a good actor back in the day. Like you said, Randy Quaid, he could act at times.
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's not that bad. It's not movie, bad, but it's not a C movie.
The bad guys are very over the top.
Yes, they are.
The good guys are very cliched.
Yes,
but
they
hey,
are.
You've got this concept car. You've got a Dodge Daytona Shelby CS, like the 4i model, which I absolutely adore those cars. There's a C3 Corvette. We're looking at it here. That's the car over there on the left, the Dodge. Some Chevy trucks. I think there's a Triumph in there. Racing, collisions. It's one of my go-tos. It's absolutely one of my go-tos.
I can't fight you.
Is it a car movie?
I think it is a car movie. The car is kind of it's called the Wraith, and the Wraith is kind of both referring to Charlie Sheen and the car.
And the car. Yep.
I think that's a car
Turbo
movie.
Interceptor.
Yes.
Okay, next pick, man.
So while deleting my tabs for that, I accidentally just deleted a tab for the thing I was going to pull up. So
please don't say the Transporter or Back to the Future.
Oh no.
Because those aren't car movies either, in my opinion. Send your hate email to podcast@motorone.com. You can type your email right now while Bruce is pulling up his other tabs.
Because
Back to the Future,
accidentally delete it.
Back to the Future. Yeah, I know the DeLorean.
This is gonna be bad.
Movie, but it's not a car movie.
It's not a car. The car is really cool.
Yeah, there's a cool car in it, and it serves as a character, but it's not really a theme, or it doesn't evoke anything from an automotive enthusiast, and maybe that's the criteria.
So, folks who are watching this, I apologize. I know this is a really pixelated image, and that's only fine. Because I accidentally deleted the tab with the
Michael Caine is a very pixelated person in The Italian Job.
Yes. So I am talking about The Italian Job. Yep. If you're not familiar with it, it starts out with a Lamborghini Countach drives into a tunnel. And it comes out as something that's not a Lamborghini Countach because they had to crash it. So it's famously like, we're not going to crash a Countach. Or not, sorry, what am I saying? Countach. Miura. A Lamborghini Miura.
I was about to say, you're a little early.
I am. You're right. A Lamborghini Miura drives into a tunnel, but it's not a Miura when it comes out. I forget what it is. I want to say it was just like a random Corvette or something like that they put a Miura body on. But Michael Caine is in this. The whole plot of the movie is that they're trying to steal a bunch of money from an Italian bank. And in order to do that, they use a ton of minis. And they do that. They drive, it's like super tight Italian streets, hence Italian Job. And they take the money and they get it onto this, like, I think it's supposed to be like a passenger bus, but they've cleared all the seats out so all the cars will fit in it because the cars are so small. But then at the very end, the money is teetering on one side and they're on the other, and they're trying to get to the money, and that's where the movie ends. So it has this like cliffhanger type ending. It's just a super fun 60s heist movie. Like it is undoubtedly a car movie. Like without the cars, the movie doesn't happen. And to me, that is what a car movie is. And so, yeah, super fun. Also remade by Jason Statham. And if I'm not mistaken, in Hobbs and Shaw, they reference something about minis that now the Jason Statham Hobbs and Shaw movie is technically in the Fast and Furious universe. Mm-hmm. So so just a fun movie. If you've never seen it, it's from the 60s. I think it's like, if it's more than an hour and a half long, it's not much more than an hour and a half long. And it's just like these cheeky British blokes who are like doing all sorts of fun stuff. They get these cars together. They're driving them through traffic. They steal a bunch of money. And then, spoiler alert, at the end, do they get the money? Do they not get the money? And the movie ends. So it's a fun one.
You know, I'm ashamed to say I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
I've caught bits and pieces here and there, but I've never seen the whole thing. I need to put that on my list. Because everything I've heard about it, I mean, it seems like it qualifies even on my twisted definitions as a car movie.
Like I considered Two Lane Blacktop, which is a movie I own, but that movie's super serious and like super like, oh my, it's like the freedom of the man on the road and stuff like that. And The Italian Job is not, it's like this, it's a heist movie, and like, oh, there, the song at the end is like, we're the self-preservation society, like, and in like the super British brogue, like, it's lighthearted and fun. There's nothing serious about it. They don't take themselves seriously, and it's like, I know I've said this multiple, it's just fun. So that's my pick.
So am I correct in assuming that in your mind, in your definition, car movies should generally be fairly lighthearted and fun?
Not necessarily. There are a few. So I considered Vanishing Point, which at the end gets really serious. I considered some that get serious, but um I think it helps,
Well,
certainly. But I don't
I
think it's
I ask this because my next pick is, of course, Mad Max, 1979 Mad Max, the very
I'll be
first
right back.
film. Oh boy, the very first film with Mel Gibson that I saw as a child in the 80s, and I never knew what those cars were, but I knew I wanted one. And it was I was probably in my teens or maybe even my early 20s before I finally really started to learn about the Australian car scene. And I
Mhm.
understood, okay, the whole thing with the Ford Falcons and Holden. And ever since 1973, that's what they had here in the first movie.
Mhm.
1973 Ford Falcon XBGT. That's the two-door coupe with the wild front nose on it, the spoilers. That's what they turned into the last of the V8 interceptors. And, you've got this whole dystopian future where the outlaws have V8s, and there's this fine line just between sanity and insanity. And then you have cars that look like this, and the movie opens with just a wild, crazy car chase. You've got the Knight Rider who's in a 73 Holden Monero.
Mhm.
Um, you've got you've got the Bronze chasing them, and they're running
Oh.
Ford Falcon XB sedans, and I think there was a Falcon XA sedan in there. To this day, if you find me on Forza Horizon playing Forza Horizon, I have a Falcon XA done up in full Mad Max livery. You also have I think it was like a Holden Sandman panel
Mhm.
van that shows up
Yeah,
in the
where it's got
middle. I
the
mean, just
yeah,
the with
yeah,
the
yeah.
mural on the side. It's a very serious movie. It's a very kind of over the
Like,
top
it's a
movie.
dark movie. Like,
It's very dark too.
there are some dark scenes that I'm not gonna specifically mention just for trigger warnings. Like, there's some dark, but the reason I had to walk away for a second, so over the weekend, I happened to buy
A Ford Falcon XB. Oh, you
no,
got
Mad Max: The Road Warrior, the sequel. So I
the
do not
sequel. Yep.
on 4K, and then after that, I watched Fury Road on 4K. By the
Yep.
way, if anyone out there has a 4K player, Mad Max Fury Road on 4K is one of the best looking films you will see on that format. It's amazing.
I can confirm I have Fury Road on 4K. It's not my favorite in the series.
Really? So,
The
okay,
original, so the original Mad Max, that's my
yeah.
favorite. Mad Max
I
2, The
think I
Road
like
Warrior is number 2. The Road Warrior I still think is pretty good. Um, it's not quite as much of a car movie though. It's getting more into just kind of the situation that they're all in. I think the
okay.
original Mad Max and Mad Max Fury Road are really the only two in the series that might qualify as car movies.
I think
Um,
that's Fury Road is a car movie. Like, they're literally never out of the car, except for the
well,
few seconds they're on a motorcycle.
and how
Like,
can you not like a 1959 Cadillac stacked on a 1959 Cadillac stacked on a freaking monster truck frame? God, that
yeah,
doesn't get any wilder. But
this,
yeah, that's my order. So Mad Max, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, Mad Max Fury Road, and then I have Beyond Thunderdome at the end.
yeah,
Not
I
that
would
it's
agree.
bad.
Beyond Thunderdome, it's not bad. There's some cool stuff in it. Like, one man at two men
Captain
enter, one
Walker,
man leaves, or
Captain
like,
Walker.
yeah,
Just the whole thing with Captain Walker. Who's that? Oh, that's Mrs. Walker. When they're looking through the I can't remember what they're called.
but
The little
no, you're
flip
right.
things.
There are
Yeah.
some good things about it, but I think it's the weakest. I would I think Fury Road is the best. And then I would put Road Warrior, and then I would put Mad Max. And depending on the week and the day that I saw them, I could flip Road Warrior and Mad Max. But Fury Road to me is the best that franchise has ever done. It is just, I am super excited for anyone out there who is a movie nerd or anything like that. Anya Taylor-Joy, who is in that chess show on Netflix, that's name I'm forgetting. She was in Last Night in Soho. She's been in a bunch of stuff. She is playing Charlize Theron's character Furiosa in a standalone movie that is currently in production. So but yeah, like it's essentially splitting hairs. Like if you had to say what's the best car-based franchise, I could put up a good fight that Mad Max is every bit as good as Fast and Furious. I think I could make that argument to someone.
They're two very different franchises. That's what makes it difficult. But
yeah, but still very good.
If I had to choose between one, I'm taking Mad Max every day of the week.
Just because Road, I think
just because of the Falcons, man, I love those cars. We're looking at the XB sedan right now. God, I want one so bad. Yeah. And they're worth like $100,000 now.
Yeah.
They are worth $100,000. Okay, Bruce, you're next, man.
All right, my last pick. I decided to go with, and this is another film I own, so I'm going to hold it up. Duel.
Ooh,
so for anyone out there
who's not seen that.
For anyone out there who's not familiar with this, this is Steven Spielberg's first theatrical film, and I could best describe it as Jaws in cars. So it's about a guy who's I believe he's in a Plymouth. It doesn't say on the back. I believe he's in like a crappy Plymouth, and he cuts a guy off on the road. And it's just a thing. He cuts a semi off, and we never see the semi driver. He clearly takes it personally, and he pursues this guy until the end of the movie. I won't spoil anything like that, but there is this fantastic scene where this Plymouth is overheating and it's going up this mountain, and the semi truck is chasing him, and he gets to the guy finally gets to the top, and he like puts it in neutral and goes down the hill. Like it's honestly, it's Jaws in cars. I can't describe it better than that. It is other than, we've talked about the ones we have to, like Smokey and the Bandit is fantastic, and it's probably would be one of my top picks. I give or take on Fast and Furious, I don't know, but Smokey and the Bandit's pretty good. But yeah, if you've never seen it, so for ages and ages, this was just freely available on YouTube, and the reason I own this Blu-ray copy is because they took it down. As of right now, you can still find it in Spanish on YouTube for some reason. So if you speak Spanish, or if you don't mind just seeing the film in Spanish, you can still watch that on YouTube. But yeah, Duel is going to be my top pick for that choice.
Donde está tu biblioteca?
Exactly. All right.
That's about the limit of my Spanish. It's once you started describing it, I realized I had at least heard of it, but I haven't seen it, and I didn't know Spielberg was on it. So
yep,
I'm very intrigued. I might have to look that up. So.
And I could. So the weird thing is, so this is Spielberg's first theatrical film. He followed that up with a film called Sugarland Express, which a lot of people have never heard of. And it could arguably be called a car film as well. In essence, and it's been a while since I've seen this, it's a couple that either kidnaps or adopts a child and ends up in this like low speed chase across several states. And so that they have the police following them. And so it's an entire road movie. Like it's this couple and child in a car, and then a bunch of police behind them. It's an interesting film, and it's one that most people kind of ignore, but it gave Spielberg kind of his foothold. So there's Duel, that's kind of meh. There's Sugarland Express, that like, oh, this is an interesting way to do things. And then there's Jaws, and it's like, oh my God, he's Steven Spielberg. He's Jaws.
Right.
And he's Steven Spielberg. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, from one iconic director to another. Can you guess what I'm about to post up here? This is before my time. It might be before the time of quite a few of you out there. If you
I'm
haven't seen it,
curious.
you have to see it. If you have any sort of inkling of car interest, you have to see this movie, and it's readily available
Oh, of
everywhere.
course. Yeah.
I am talking about the classic American Graffiti by George Lucas. George Lucas was actually a very, very big car guy.
Totally.
In
Here,
fact, if you go to motor1.com, we wrote an article. It was probably a year or two ago.
I think it was like 3 years
Which
ago. I'm pulling
means
it
it
up
was like
right
4 or
now.
5. Where we covered. He did like just a short film. While
You're
he
right.
was in college,
2021.
and it was just like a short film, I think, at Willow Springs Raceway
Mhm.
with a Lotus, if I remember correctly. So he's a big car guy. He grew up in California during kind of the whole heyday of the 50s and 60s cruising scene. And I mean, that's what American Graffiti is all about. It's a slice of life movie of just teenagers coming of age, the last day of summer before school starts. Some of them are heading off to college. Some of them are headed off to Vietnam, and they're all kind of centered around Mel's Diner, and they're all getting into trouble. They're all getting into just various antics that are going on. And
So,
yeah,
real quick. So I press play, but then stop in case we get into any issues. So
we don't
the
want to do
film is called 1-42-08, like the lap time, 1 minute 42.08 seconds. And then 1966. It is still available on YouTube right now because I can still play it. So yeah, if you want to see George Lucas's student film where it is a Lotus, I think it's a Lotus 22. Yeah, Lotus 23, sorry. Lapping Willow Springs, that is still freely available, and it just shows how much of a car guy he is. But yeah, also
big car guy, and
yeah.
I mean, American Graffiti. Of course, I mean, we're talking about Ron Howard, we're talking about Richard Dreyfuss, Cindy Williams, Harrison Ford before he was Han Solo, before he was Indiana Jones. He was Falfa trying to hunt down Milner, the guy with the 32 Ford, because he had the hottest car in town. And I mean, tell me, Bruce, you can go to just about any car show in America right now, whether it's a small one, whether it's a large one, and you will see somebody there with the car we're looking at right now, yellow chopped 32 Ford 5-window. That was Milner's ride in American Graffiti. It was the hottest car in the valley. And you might then also see somebody with a black 55 Chevy. That's what Harrison Ford was driving. And I really, really grew to appreciate the 58 Chevy Impala because of American Graffiti. And we're looking at it now. It was just the way they had the fins on the back. At the time, you saw fins like from Cadillac that were going kind of vertical, and these kind of angled out like an F-18 is today, right? And Ron Howard, I'm trying to remember his character, Steve. That's Happy Days, man.
Yeah, that's Happy Days.
His first name was Steve, and I can't remember his last name. But then Richard Dreyfuss in it was Kurt. Kurt had a Citroen 2CV that he was driving around, and of course,
the nerdy guy's got a Vespa that's almost identical to the one I have, and then he's like bragging because he gets Ron Howard's car. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got a Jeep," and the girl who's with him, whose name I can't remember, she's like, "Oh, why don't we go take your Jeep?" Because the one car breaks down. He's like, "I was lying. I don't."
I was. Yeah, that's such a great film. Flick, such a great film.
And this might be totally apocryphal. So the movie I mentioned earlier, 2-Lane Blacktop, stars a 55 Chevy. Allegedly, and I don't know whether or not this is true, and if anyone out there who's listening can tell me, the 55 Chevy in 2-Lane Blacktop is the exact same car that Harrison Ford drives in American Graffiti, that they bought it from the production of this, and then in this, it's like kind of gray. They just spray painted it matte black and put it in that movie. So that's the story I've heard.
Now, I don't know. I haven't heard the story. But I do know that he crashes that 55 Chevy at the end of
At the end of the movie, he does, yeah.
So, I mean, whether they had more than one car, it was a 55 Chevy.
I think it was a 210.
Yeah, I think it was a 210. Just your kind of basic bare bone Chevy like they would build back in the day.
But then you throw the big V8 in it, and you take out as much weight as you can, and
Yep. Nope, that's my choice. Oh, how could I forget? Suzanne Summers driving the white 56 Ford Thunderbird.
Yeah.
That Kurt was trying to find the whole night because she mouthed, "I love you" through the windows. And of course, when you're 18 years old and somebody says it to you, you believe them. So
and he goes and finds the radio show guy, the Wolfman. And he's like, please.
He gets out to where the Wolfman is broadcasting. He's like, you got to tell this girl to call me. Yeah. It's such a, I mean, just a really good character movie. Totally. A really good feel-good coming of age movie. And the scene at the end where it's going through and it's listing, okay, here's what happens to these people in the future. And, Milner's killed by a drunk driver.
And that might have been one of the first movies to do that. Because obviously Animal House does that, but that's several years later. I think Animal House is 69, maybe 71. But then,
American Graffiti was 73.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was about like the late 50s, early 60s.
Yep.
But it was done in 73.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's that's a good one. I'm gonna go see if that's on Netflix, honestly, right after we get done with this, because
I'm sure it's on streaming. I have it on. I got it on DVD, and then somebody got it for me on Blu-ray.
Oh, good.
Just a great all-around flick, man.
Yeah, no, that's
cars and people. What are your great all-around car flicks, folks?
Right. Wait, real quick. It's not movies with like good car scenes, not good car chases. Like we could have picked Ronin. We could have picked, honestly, most of the Mission Impossible movies have pretty good car chases. I would argue that most of them, but what's a movie that the cars are the stars, and that's what we kind of tried to pick out. Smith disagreed with me with Blues Brothers. I'll disagree with him all night long on that. But so I want to hear your suggestions, but the cars have to be the stars. So yeah, let us know, because I'm curious. And if I haven't seen them, I'll probably try to watch them, because I love movies like that.
Email them in, podcast@motor1.com. You can comment on our YouTube page, Motor One Podcast. Let us know, what are your favorite car movies? You can comment on the articles that go up every Friday at motor1.com that offer a nice little summary of the podcast here in case you don't have an hour or so to listen. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you think about the car movies, what you think about everything we talked about tonight, the Mustang, the new Super B, the Civic Type R. Let us know. We want to hear from you.
Totally. And real quick, not a car movie, absolutely not a car movie, but a movie with a car in it that I knew you like, Smith. I currently have The Truman Show coming to me, and he drives a Ford Taurus. So,
not only that, you're not going to pull this one over on me, Bruce. He drives a Ford Taurus SHO in the movie.
When?
It looks like it has the front fascia from the third generation, the Jelly Bean Taurus show. It has just the front fascia. But then when you see it from the side, it doesn't have the wheels and it doesn't have the badging. But it does have the front fascia. Why they just put the front fascia on, I don't know. Maybe it looked a little bit sportier. But there's some trivia for you.
You done taught me tonight, then.
Woo! I'm on a mission from
Truman
God.
Show in a night or two. So, but thanks everyone. We always love you. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night. We hope you love this. We hope you enjoy this kind of movie talk thing. Like, here's the thing. Here's the reason we picked this is that Labor Day is an upcoming holiday. A lot of people are going to have
go watch some of these movies.
You're going to be able to sit at home on Saturday or Sunday night after your barbecue. Maybe you got a beer in you, maybe you got some burgers in you, and you're like, I want to watch a fun car movie, and we hope we gave you some suggestions.
Mad Max is a total fun car
American
movie.
Graffiti, I think, is the best pick of the bunch.
Oh, that's because it's right at the end of summer, man. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Where were you in 62? Where were you in 2022? Holy crap, it matches.
Yep.
Where were you in 2022? American Graffiti.
All right, folks. Good night, and thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.